Right now, what we want to take an opportunity to do is weigh in on the Dear Q letter. This was kind of a lengthy one, so we're going to break this thing down piece by piece. It says, my husband and I talk about everything. Cool. Great. You should be able to. We talk about our past relationships, and we never get upset or jealous. All right. Issue right out the gate, because that ain't true. Nonsense. Don't tell me that you can sit up and listen at your husband tell you about all the boots he knocked before he met you and get into all the deep details, and you don't feel some type of way because you do. Nonsense. So let's get rid of that myth right out of the gate. And so does he. He may be somewhat adequate at suppressing it, but you'll notice a question will pop up here and there. And the other thing with that particular line is, why do we always talk about the past relationship? Is it the past if we can't let it go? May just not be the past for you. It says, before we were married, I thought that it was important that I tell my husband that I had dated white men in the past. Now, here's the thing. Man is a man, no matter what his ethnicity is. And, honey, you're sadly mistaken if you think a man's desire is to go through your catalog or your black book. Because not saying that this person who wrote this letter is, because this person very well may be an excellent, beautiful, wonderful person. But just say, for instance, the person that you're now in love with was an undercover whore. You know what? If your life has been reformed and changed, don't tell me that you slept with 630 people before you got to me. I don't know if I want to know that person. I want to take the one that I met, that's the new you, the one that I fell in love with. So let's don't keep rehashing that. And then she says, my reason is because most black men disapprove. Well, if you thought your husband would disapprove, why would you shove something down his throat over and over again? A few nights ago, we were watching TV, and I commented that a white man was very attractive. See, your husband would have never known had you kept that lust to yourself. I'm just saying. My husband became very angry and said, now, I can understand why he got a little perturbed. I don't know why he got quite this angry, but I can tell you why he might have been a little perturbed, and you can see the reasons for that in the earlier statements. The statements that we talk about everything and we never get jealous or upset because, that's not true. And you said that most men don't approve. Now, you don't know most black men, so you must base that off how you know your husband feel. And if you know he feels that way, why do you do that? Is it a game? Is it something you get a kick out of, seeing what type of response you get from him? Be careful, sweetie, because one's trash is another one's treasure. Don't think that the thunder is so powerful that a bolt of lightning can't come through and take him away. I'm just saying. Says then, let me see where she at. My husband got very angry when I started lusting after a white guy that I saw on TV. You love white men, don't you? I was very surprised. Why were you surprised? In your earlier statement, you said your comment was most black men strongly disapprove. So if you felt that way, why were you surprised at his disapproval? He says, no, you don't love me because I ain't white. I'll be honest with you. I don't care who you dated before me, but you're not going to be disrespectful to me by always sitting up, edifying and glorifying something. If you want it that much, go get it. And if I'm who you say you want, and the only way you can assure me that I'm the one you want is I don't want to hear about your fetish for some other man. Nor will I subject you to having to compete with something from my past. I wouldn't do that. It's not fair for the future to keep your spouse competing with the past. And then he walked out and left. The next day, he asked me, what was it about white men that I like? I told him that was my past, and he had dated white women in the past. Now, here's what I saw about that. In this comment, there's no indication that he's always throwing up other women in her face. It's something that she's doing to him. And she never did answer his question. He said, what is it that you like so much? And she threw up what she thinks she knew about him rather than answering the question. He told me that that is different with black men and white women. I think we talked about that one time on the show. We won't get into that now, but we did talk about that one time on the show. I am very disappointed in my husband. Now, you're the one that lusted. You're the one that have your husband constantly competing with a memory from your past, but you're disappointed in him. Tell your husband to call myself or Clarence Walker because he must join the Dominion Club. He has to understand how to deal with these types of things. This is something we talked about before we got married. If you talked about it before you got married, my question is, was it in the agreement that at will, whenever you wanted to, you could throw it back up in his face? If not, then you talked about it. You made him understand it. He accepted it. He married you. How about leave it alone now if you love him? Or let him talk to me. I'll tell him how he can find a woman who likes him for him, and he won't have to compete with her past or her desire for somebody, whether it's the opposite race or the same race. He has to know his worth, and he has to know he doesn't have to settle for you throwing that up in his face all the time. Doesn't matter if the guy is white or if it's black. No husband should have to compete with the memory of his wife's past. This is something we talked about because, and vice versa, by the way. No wife should have to compete with the memory of a husband's past. This is something we talked about before we got married. I never thought my husband would be a racist. I haven't heard anything that made him a racist. I think he would give the same response if you were always talking about a Mexican or Arab or a Chinese man. I don't think it's necessarily because of the white. I think it's because you seem to find some sort of attraction in everything except your husband. But now I see that he could be. I think you got him wrong, sweetie. How do we get past this? You shut your mouth. That's easy. Shut your mouth. Quit trying to make your husband compete with what you think your idea of the ideal man is. If your husband is not that person, go and find that person. Do him a favor. Love him enough to free him so that he can find a woman who loves him for him. That's my take on the Dear Q letter, okay?